All right, let's dive right in. Welcome to this explainer where we're going to explore a genuinely fascinating concept drawn straight from the intersection of cognitive science and financial psychology. We are talking about how to literally rewire your brain to think like a billionaire. Now, if you're a focused learner who really wants to unpack the mechanics of extreme success, well, you are in exactly the right place. Look, we aren't going to sit here and talk about getting up at 4 a.m. or, drinking green juice. Instead, we're going to look at the brain as a piece of hardware. And what we're introducing today is a massive fundamental upgrade to your mental operating system. But first, we really have to address the elephant in the room, right? Is relentless hustle and grinding the actual secret to extreme wealth? I mean, modern culture constantly feeds us this narrative that if you just work harder, if you put in way more hours and completely sacrifice your sleep, you're inevitably going to reach the pinnacle of financial success. But if you stop and think about it mathematically, it just doesn't add up. You literally cannot work 1,000 times harder than the average person because, well, there are only 24 hours in a day. So the real differentiator of extreme wealth isn't the sheer volume of your output, but the fundamental quality of the cognitive processing behind that output. To really grasp this, we have to totally abandon the old software of hustle culture. That old software relies on brute force, extremely high friction, and honestly, inevitable burnout. It's exactly like trying to run modern heavy applications on a 20-year-old computer. It's just gonna crash. Instead, what we need is the new update, which is built on cognitive frameworks. This is the so-called billionaire mindset. And the truly beautiful thing about cognitive science here is that it proves this mindset is absolutely not some rare, inherent genetic talent that you're just born with. It is quite literally an operating system upgrade for your brain. It's a specific set of mental models that anyone, and yes, that includes you, can download, install, and run to fundamentally change how you process information. Okay, let's jump into Section 1, the neuroplasticity of wealth. So neuroplasticity is essentially the brain's incredible ability to reorganize itself. It forms brand new neural connections throughout your entire life. When we talk about upgrading your mental software, we are talking about physically changing how your brain adapts to and processes really high-stakes financial decisions. And right at the core of this whole upgrade is something called cognitive reframing. Basically, it's the mental process of intentionally changing the way you look at a situation so you can fundamentally alter how you experience and react to it. Think about it. When an average operating system hits a massive, high-stakes challenge, it instantly triggers a fight or flight stress response. Your amygdala totally takes over, logic shuts down, and panic sets in. But cognitive reframing, it allows you to intercept that exact signal. It lets you pause and literally change the meaning of the event before your brain even reacts to it. So what does that actually look like in the real world? Well, let's take a classic example, transforming market volatility from a massive threat into a clear-cut opportunity. Imagine the market drops by 20%. The old software immediately screams, "Threat, sell everything, protect what's left." The stress response grabs the steering wheel. But a rewired brain uses cognitive reframing to view that exact same piece of data totally differently. It sees that 20% drop and immediately thinks, wow, assets are on sale. This is a phenomenal entry point. By rewiring that initial stress response, this upgraded operating system paves the way for cool, highly logical, and highly profitable decision-making at the exact moment when everyone else is making completely emotional, destructive choices. Moving right along to Section 2, upgrading core mental models. The very first of these core models is first principles thinking. This is all about taking a super complex problem, stripping it completely down to its most basic, undeniably true elements, and then building your entire solution up from there. You have to remove all of your assumptions, all the traditions, and absolutely all of that, well, because that's how it's always been done, baggage. You drill all the way down to the absolute bedrock of reality, and then you start constructing totally from scratch. You see, most people out there operate on analogy thinking. They look at what already exists in the world and try to make it, maybe 5% better. Like, if everyone is building horse-drawn carriages, analogy thinking says, hey, let's just make a slightly lighter carriage. But first principles thinking stops and asks, wait, what is the actual fundamental goal here? It's transportation. And building from that absolute truth is what actually leads to the invention of the automobile. The billionaire operating system simply doesn't waste its time iterating on flawed existing structures. It builds novel, entirely disruptive solutions from the ground truth up. And that builds perfectly into our second core mental model, asymmetric risk. Honestly, this is perhaps the most heavily guarded secret of extreme wealth generation. Asymmetric risk is a scenario where your potential downside is strictly and mathematically capped, but your potential upside, it's virtually infinite. This completely destroys that old, tired adage that to make big money, you have to take massive risks. Trust me, that is purely old software talking. Think about traditional risk like a 1-to-1 ratio, a perfectly balanced scale. You bet $10,000 to potentially make $10,000. And if you lose the whole thing. It's essentially a coin flip. But asymmetric risk, it is completely lopsided in your favor. You might risk $1,000, meaning you have a strictly limited downside, for the potential to make $100,000 or even $1 million. The truly upgraded billionaire mindset is relentlessly patient. It simply refuses to play the traditional risk game. Instead, it just sits on the sidelines, observing, waiting until it spots an opportunity where the upside so completely dwarfs the downside that making the investment becomes a totally logical imperative. All right, let's pivot to section 3. The time horizon shift. So our primal brains are inherently wired just to survive today. Middle-class financial thinking might stretch out to a month, worrying about the next paycheck or making that next credit card payment. Even highly successful professionals usually only plan in terms of maybe 1 to 5 years. But the billionaire cognitive framework dramatically stretches this timeline way, way out. They are processing their decisions on a horizon of decades. They aren't just playing the game better, they are playing a completely different game on an entirely different board. Making this leap requires time horizon expansion. Compounding massive wealth requires thinking in decades instead of days. And when you extend your time horizon this drastically, the very nature of what is risky completely changes. A highly volatile asset that looks incredibly risky over a 1-month horizon suddenly becomes mathematically safe and wildly lucrative when you evaluate it over a 3-decade horizon. Those immediate short-term losses, they just become totally irrelevant data points in a long-term compounding trajectory. Now, the absolutely crucial point here is how this affects our daily actions, and we figure that out through a simple opportunity cost audit. Opportunity cost is just what you're giving up when you choose one option over another. When your brain is stuck on a short-term horizon, buying a brand new luxury car today feels like a fantastic reward. But when you actually apply that decades-long time horizon, you realize that the money you just spent on a rapidly depreciating asset is silently stealing millions of dollars in compound returns from your future self. The upgraded brain audits every single choice, weighing that tiny fleeting hit of short-term dopamine against absolutely massive long-term compound growth. Which brings us to our final part, Section 4, Daily Brain Training Protocol. Look, understanding all these concepts conceptually is great, but to actually rewire your neural pathways, you absolutely need practical, daily application. You need a regular maintenance schedule to keep this new software running flawlessly. So here are 3 actionable micro-habits that you can start using today. Number 1, audit just one daily choice for opportunity cost. Before you buy something or spend 2 hours just mindlessly scrolling on your phone, pause. Ask yourself, what is this actually costing my future self in compounded returns? Number 2, break one problem down to first principles. The next time you hit a roadblock at work or even just in life, stop looking at how everybody else solves it, strip it completely down to its basic, undeniable truths, and build a totally new solution from there. And finally, number 3, look for one asymmetric risk. Actively train your brain to scan your environment for opportunities where the downside is strictly capped, but the upside is immense. It could be something as simple as dedicating time to learn a new high-leverage skill or sending a cold email to a potential mentor you admire. The downside? 0. But the upside? It could literally be life-changing. And that brings us to the end of this explainer. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a single, really sharp thought to chew on. What is the compounding opportunity cost of the very next decision you make today? Every single choice you make from this moment forward is either feeding that old, burnt-out hustle culture software, or it is actively rewiring your brain for massive asymmetric growth. The upgrade has been downloaded, and the installation, well, that's entirely in your hands. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I genuinely challenge you to start running your brand new operating system right now.